There's no other box of facial tissues like this. Scotty's new Magic Oval box. Only Scotty's give you tissues that float up gently, one at a time, and come out in neat handfuls too, because there's a Magic Oval inside every new Scotty's box. Only Scotty's Magic Oval can give you tissues that float up, smooth and easy. No tugging, no tearing, no extra tissues tagging along. And Scotty's Magic Oval does even more. It lets you reach in for tissues by the handful, all neatly folded, just right for pocket or purse. Scotty's new Magic Oval box is pretty too. And inside, soft, strong, sneeze-proof Scotty's. Remember, for tissues that float up smoothly and come out in neatly folded handfuls, look for Scotty's pretty new Magic Oval box, the only one of its kind.
Last time we were working on the chassis, changing out resistors, and I told you I had some 1,000-volt capacitors I failed to order. Well, I went ahead and ordered the replacements, and of course these are they're blue disc caps. These are rated at 1,600 volts apiece, so that'll more than cover our 1,000-volt requirement. At the same time, I went ahead and ordered these electrolytic capacitors to change out the ones in the tube tester, the CRT tester, because we're about ready to test the CRT. The chassis is down to about maybe 2 hours work, maybe 3, depending on how much coffee I drink. And Brendan did an excellent job. My mentor, for those of you who don't know, he lives up in Detroit. He's my television mentor. He gives me lots of good advice. We even talk politics once in a while. Anyway, he bought this thing on eBay, put it all together for me, made this universal adapter, and he emailed me copies of the instructions on how to use it, plus all the different tubes and the which adapter to use. And there's also it tells what filament voltage. So our tube is a 17QP4. Now the 17QP4 is a 6.3 volt heater. I'm talking about the CRT now, and I will be using socket number 3. So meanwhile, I want to go ahead and I've been holding off because I wanted to make sure I change out these electrolytics. You'll remember that Westinghouse radio, for those of you who followed my videos. Let me see, I've got it right here. Let me pull it out. You'll remember this thing motorboating like crazy because I failed to change the electrolytic capacitors when I got it. Yeah, it worked for a while, but then they just crapped out. You know, they just don't last, the old electrolytics. So I'm going to go ahead and replace all the E-caps in here, and I'll feel a whole lot better. And when that's done, then we're going to go ahead and haul the cabinet with the CRT inside and put it on the old, haul it out of the shed, put it on the workbench, and we're going to give this thing a test. Incidentally, the instructions and everything that Brendan sent me, I went ahead and printed it all off to include the universal adapter connector list that he provided. And I took it down to Office Depot, and they did a binding job for me, so it fits right up in there. Yeah, it's a lot bigger than the original was, but so what? I like it like that. And here it is again. These are the four microfarad capacitors, and they're rated at 450 volts. These are the two 16 microfarad capacitors, and they're rated at 350 volts. All four of the 4 microfarad capacitor electrolytics have been replaced, and one of the keys to soldering is good practice. And when you replace a component, it should be very difficult to figure out just by looking at the solder joints what component you just replaced. You want your component solder joints to look as good or as close as you can get it as to what was done at the factory. Well, that's it, all 4 here and these 2 here. Now we'll put this whole thing back together, and the next time you see this tester, we'll be getting ready to hook it up to the CRT. Incidentally, when I covered this tester the first time in a video a while back, I said that there was probably about 9 different connectors or adapters you know, this sort of thing I'm talking about here. Actually, there's 12. There's 12 different adapters, and this one right here is where all the adapters plug into. But you can go ahead and just use it as a connection to a different television also. So that in itself is a adapter. The old workbench is empty, and now it's not, because we're going to be using this to check out this. First, I'm going to have to turn it around, take the back off, do a little cleaning on the inside, get any dust that accumulated because it's been sitting in the shed. Then we're going to clean the connector on the back of the TV tube. We're going to clean some connectors here that we'll be using. And then we're going to get it set up for a checkout. Oh yeah, she's definitely in need of some cleaning. Check that out. I guess I never bothered to clean it before I stuck it in the shed. It's the only thing I can think of. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and clean that. And then take this old paintbrush I bought today. Went down to Walmart's for a while with the wife. I'm going to kind of brush off a lot of the dirt around here. You know, I'm not going to go too crazy with it around the picture tube. Got to be very careful. You know, there's nothing more enjoyable than listening to a nice tape on the reel-to-reel while you're cleaning a vintage TV cabinet. I mean, it just relaxes you completely. I used alcohol and the standard old alcohol acid brush to go ahead and clean both sides of this connector here. And I went ahead and cleaned most of this already, but I'm going to go ahead and give it a good cleaning. I want all those pins to be super clean when I hook that tube tester up to them. I don't want any problems. I want good connections. And it looks like I've got it all cleaned up. It looks real good all the way around. The picture tube's all been undusted, as they say, or dust free now, as much as I can get it. By the way, there's a date stamp inside this cabinet. I don't know if that's the date the cabinet was made or the date the TV was assembled, but it's March 4th, 1952. I think that's kind of cool. And I don't know what HC stands for. Probably the inspector who inspected the TV before they put the back on it. At least that's my take. And I don't know if this is actually the original tube or not. And you know, from what I can see now, there's a support rod here and a support rod here, an alignment rod, and this one has a plastic sheath around it. This one does not, so it may have been broken off at the time a picture tube was changed out and put in. I don't know. This says RCA electron tube, and it has a 2-22 written on it. We're getting very close to getting this thing finished. Aren't you excited, honey? Honey? Aren't you all just hyped up over this? Hello? Oh well, she probably doesn't hear me. Her hearing aid's not in. Alright, the old connector number 3 has been cleaned with the holes in the connector were cleaned with this pipe cleaner and alcohol, and then of course the acid brush took care of the rest. So let's dry things out and get it hooked up. Alright, let's do this. According to the instructions, there's very just short, really short instructions with this test set. It says set all knobs and controls fully counterclockwise and all push buttons in the up position. Well, I can do that. Counterclockwise, counterclockwise, and another one. There we go. All in the counterclockwise position. All the buttons are up. Not a problem. Hey, that was easy. Now it says put the slide switch in the norm position unless the chart specifies G1 or high. Well, there's the norm position. It's in the norm position. It says to measure the power line voltage, press the heater line push button and read the voltage on the lower scale of the left meter. Now the lower scale would be down here. This is the left meter, lower scale would be the bottom. And we should have about 123 somewhere in that area right there, because it's a times 10 deal. So it says press the heater button. It says heater and line on the button. Press the heater button and the needle should move up to about there. And it does. Looks like about 122, 123 volts. You know, depending on how accurate the meter is. It may be off a volt or two. And then it says press the heater line. Okay, set heater switch to the voltage listed in the chart. Well, we went to our chart here the other day. And it's right there, that yellow one. It says the voltage is the heater voltage is 6.3 volts. Alright, we're going to move this one, the heater voltage switch, up to 6.3 volts, which is right there. 6.3 volts, done. This is a piece of cake. Okay, and then it says press the heater push button and adjust the heater control so that the left meter indicates the correct voltage. Well, we're looking for heater voltage, which would be about 6.3 somewhere. No, right here, the bottom scale again, 6.3. There it is right there. It says press the heater button, and then I'm supposed to adjust the heater adjust button right here until it reads 6.3. So let's do that. Alright, it needs to go up a little bit more. A little bit more. Normally you would do this with two hands. And just a touch more. Just a tad more. There we go. 6.3 volts. Oh God, this gets easier by the minute. Press the HK button. Leakage or shorts will cause the meter pointer to move downscale. Reject the tube if the pointer moves below the HK mark. Now the HK mark is right there. It says, it's very small letters, you can't read it. It says BNW HK. BNW being black and white. So what we're going to do now is press the HK button. This is the HK button. Nothing's happening. Nothing is happening. Now it says press the G1 button. Leakage or shorts will cause the meter pointer to move downscale. Reject the tube if the pointer moves below the G1 mark, which is right here. That's the G1 mark. So we will press the G1 button now. And again, nothing's happened. Press cutoff push button. Turn each cutoff control left to advance the meter pointer upscale 2 divisions on the cutoff scale. So the cutoff scale would be this center scale right here. There's two tiny little lines. I know you can't hardly see them right there, but we're going to press cutoff, and then we're going to advance this thing up. Hopefully it'll go up. Nothing is happening. How interesting. Well, the first test turned out to be a failure. The heater to cathode test was good. The grid one was good. But the cutoff, I'm unable, when I press the cutoff, I'm unable to bring up the cutoff to the second line here as required by the procedure. So what we're going to do now, I've already talked to Brendan about this, and we both had the same idea. I'm just going to let it cook overnight. We're going to let that baby cook. As you can see, the filament or the heater is lit. We're just going to let it cook overnight. We may have to wind up doing a very low rejuvenation. Now this thing is kind of a neat tester. We can do a low rejuvenation, a medium rejuvenation, or a high rejuvenation. And we can also do a remove shorts. Well, of course, we haven't had any shorts yet. So we'll see what happens. I took it apart and cleaned all the switches and contacts and adjustment pots again. And we'll just see what happens. Probably have to sit till tomorrow morning. I'm going to cook all night long.